Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am Jake. This is Press to Play Rewind for the world of gaming this week. I am very, very excited to talk about this stuff because we've got one thing that you've all seen my reaction to, which you know I'm stoked about, and then some other really interesting things to talk about as well. But we can't talk about it without our good friend Forrest back in the house. Forrest, welcome back to Gaming Rewind. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me again. I love talking about video games, and this is the best place to do it.
Hell yeah, my friend. So let's just jump right into it because we got four little stories to talk about today. The first thing we got to talk about is just something that kind of happened that I'm going to speculate on a lot, and probably too much. But earlier in the week, Nintendo filed, and somebody found that Nintendo filed a patent for a standalone Joy-Con design. Now, Forrest, I don't know if you had a chance to see this thing, but it looks like a Joy-Con, right? Actually, I've got mine right here. It looks like a Joy-Con, but the design is much more rounded, and there's no side connector at all. There's no
Looking at it.
connector to connect to anything. It's just a
Huh.
rounded design, and it looks really interesting. It looks like it could be kind of comfortable. But the intriguing part here is, why would they have this? You know, what point is there to
That's a good
have a
point.
standalone Joy-Con, right? They work great with the Switch. So there's two possible things I can think of. One, I think this could be something, maybe it's a cheaper Joy-Con that people can get for the Switch Lite, because sometimes they require motion control, they require separate Joy-Con, whatever, and a Switch Lite you have to buy a separate Joy-Con for, right? That's option number one to me.
Makes
Switch
sense.
Lite compatibility. Option two is, for years we have heard rumors and mumblings of a Switch Pro. We've talked about it on this show for us that a Switch Pro could potentially happen.
But
I really do believe now that it is going to happen, and I think that this Joy-Con is designed with the Switch Pro in mind. I believe that this is something that it could be sort of a premium, nice Joy-Con little set that comes with the Switch Pro. And I think that's because the Switch Pro is not going to be able to be docked and undocked. I think it's going to be specifically a console for the television. And so I
interesting.
think that, because the way the Switch Lite is, it takes the Switch out of it, right? They're not afraid
Right.
to remove the Switch aspect of
It
the Switch,
doesn't
which
switch.
honestly is my favorite part of the Switch, that I can switch it. I can play it on my TV, I can take it off the TV. That's why I love the Switch so much.
Sure.
But I think they can't get the kind of horsepower to compete with next-gen consoles coming out. They just can't.
Yeah.
And I don't think, if they do a Switch Pro, that it's going to be on that level. I really, really don't. But, you know, just heard so many rumors for so long that this could happen. We've seen people talking about it for so long, and then to see this weird patent for a new Joy-Con that can't connect to anything,
Yeah.
I really do think this could be an announcement that we see even early next year. That is where my money is right now. I think we could see a Switch Pro. Forrest, you saw the patent. Am I way overthinking this like I tend to, or do you think that there might be a little bit of fire where there has been smoke?
No, your speculations, uh, you going overboard. It tends to often be sort of on the right track, as we talked about in the movie thing that you brought up from episode 2. You kind of have these ideas, and they kind of come to fruition. So yeah, I'm looking at this patent here, and it is a very interesting design that I'm wondering, it doesn't show like a charging dock or like a USB-C port for this. But the bottom of it's very big. So I wonder if it's battery powered. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. I don't know. But what it's for is a very good question. They made the original Switch, which the whole point was to switch from dock console to handheld. They've made the handheld only version. So again, the next logical step would be, well, maybe if we were trying to compete with, not even the Xbox One and PS4 anymore, but the Xbox Series X and the PS5, maybe our
Yeah.
next progression is to make something a little beefier that can only be docked. A true at-home console. The Switch, not that it's lived its life out, it's been 3 years. I think they usually like 5 to 8 years for a console generation, so it is still technically a Switch. So maybe they do go docked only and let you hold Joy-Cons, kind of like the Wiimote and the Nunchuk with it. So it's a very interesting patent for this to leak right now. I don't think that they would go through something this big for the Switch Lite. I mean, the Switch Lite it's pretty on its own. I guess some of the games do require motion controls and separate things, but I don't think it's enough of a demand to make a whole other controller for it. So I wonder where this could be going. And I know there have been rumors of the Switch Pro version. So it's something I'd be interested in. I don't use my Switch handheld very often. It's been docked forever. The only time I use it is when I was on vacation, on the plane, in the airport, in the hotel room a little bit. I brought my dock, but I never ended up plugging it in because I didn't spend a lot of time in the hotel room. So something that is actually, they didn't even touch it while I was on vacation. It was only on the trip there and back. So, I have that for that. If I had one just for home stuff, it would be, I bought a Pro controller for the reason of I want something I can sit on the couch with. So it would make sense maybe to use this for that.
Yeah, I really do think it's going to happen. If you had to put your money on it for us, over under, let's put the line at 60%. Do you think that sometime next year, do you think there's a higher than a 60% chance or lower than a 60% chance that we will see a Switch Pro announcement next year?
By next year, I would say for sure. If that's over, I don't know. I don't bet on anything. So, okay, I would go over. It's been 3 years. We haven't seen a lot of updates. There were rumors of a more powerful one or one that had a longer, or did that release? The one with the better battery life. We did get
that is just the regular Switch now. Yeah, it has a slightly better battery life.
Gotcha. So it's been kind of the common thing. I mean, with the Xbox One, they had the Xbox One X, they had the PS4 Pro. About halfway through the generation, they have been updating it with, we've got huge advances in technology, and I can go on about the graphics cards that are about to come out, the 3000 series, which are twice as good as the 2000 series from NVIDIA, which blows my mind. I need to invest in that, but it makes sense for consoles eventually, like halfway through their cycle, to update, get beefed up with some better power and some better processing. So I think I would say over. I'm in on it's. We're probably within the next year going to see, by holiday next year, see a new Switch.
Yeah, I completely agree 100%. I think it could even launch sooner than that. I could see them doing, and this is totally wild speculation, but I could really see them announcing this in early 2021 and have it come out by mid 2021. I really think it's happening. Like, they don't follow the traditional holiday console thing that often. I mean, they used to, but not so much anymore. Especially, I mean, the Switch launched in March 3rd. So it's really interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do. What do you guys think about this? Have you seen the patent? What do you think of the design? And do you think that this could actually be for a Switch Pro? Or do you think we're both a little bit crazy? Let us know in the comments below. Now, I just want to briefly touch on this story. We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this one, but I have been very excited for this game that they announced last year at E3. It's a Ubisoft game called Gods and Monsters. And then they had the Ubisoft, the Ubi Forward event earlier in the year, and I was really expecting to see it, and it was just nowhere to be found. Well, earlier in the week, they had another Ubi Forward, and they announced that the title changed, and they gave us the first trailer and gameplay for Immortals Fenyx Rising. So I've been waiting for this game for a long time. I've been waiting to find more. Ever since I was so captivated by that trailer, I'm like, I'm going to love this game. It's from the people who did Assassin's Creed. I think it looks really cool. What do I think of the trailer? I think it looks kick-ass. I think it looks like a ton of fun. I love the whole Greek aesthetic. It's all Greek god, Greek mythology, Greek monster-based. And just the combat and everything looked really cool. I think the character herself looked a little weird. In the face, I thought the facial design was a little off, but it just looks really fun, and it looked like just a fun action game. Then I saw some of the gameplay, and this game looks like it drew so much inspiration from my personal favorite game of all time, Breath of the Wild. This is a huge open world. There's gliding around to different areas, there's climbing, there's stamina, there's different monsters. It's all very open. You've got different abilities that are kind of like the relics that you can do certain special magic maneuvers and stuff. It looks very much like Breath of the Wild, but also very much has its own take. You've got all these different weapons that you can switch through the action. Like the combat looks much more like a traditional action game, like a beat 'em up kind of game. So overall, I think it looks really cool. I heard some of the audio from the game, and it's pretty cheeky. It breaks the fourth wall a couple of times. Like the one guy's going on and on and on. And the other god is like, "Oh, where's my skip button?" and stuff like that. So I think this game looks like it could just be a lot of fun. I'm excited they announced that the main character Phoenix is completely customizable, so that's really cool. Maybe I don't have to pick that face. I don't know. Overall, I think it looks really cool. Forrest, you had a chance to check this out. What do you think of Immortals Fenyx Rising?
Yeah, you brought up a very good point. It does seem like kind of a love letter, or just it drew a lot of inspiration drew a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild. I'm looking at a screenshot here that shows like a temple up on a hill, and you see the mountain and the volcano in the background. You're like, this just looks like a modded version of Breath of the Wild. So there's nothing wrong with drawing inspiration for something, kind of putting your own spin on it. So it'll be interesting to see another developer kind of take the aspects of a very beloved game, like Switch launch title, hours and hours and hours into that game, and kind of put their own touch on it. And the whole Greek god aesthetic, I think that was probably one of my favorite things going through school, is learning about a different culture's religion in a way, that they believe in these gods, and there's so much lore and so much story there, but to actually get to tell it through a fun action open world adventure game, that it looks amazing to get to play. You get all your favorite gods to face. I mean, what they showed in the trailer, it looked like they had a Medusa. There's things I didn't even really understand what they were, but they had like the Minotaur and everything. So it's a very interesting design. It feels like it pulls a lot from both Breath of the Wild, and it has kind of, it feels almost, I don't want to like put it down anyway, but it feels like Fortnite-y cartoony, to try to draw kids in, but it has mythology to try to bring in. So older people. So it kind of touches on a lot of bases to get everybody involved in it. But to hear that she's customizable and that you can mess around with that and kind of explore and add a bunch of different things, it definitely surprised me. Like I'd forgot that this was even announced at E3. I honestly, when I'd seen an ad or two for it, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. So this is Ubisoft doing it. Watching it felt a lot like Breath of the Wild, but that is nothing wrong with that. I love it.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. And, and it is. It's a different take on it. But Breath of the Wild, that was a true open world game. And I'm hoping that this can be that as well. It was just being able to go anywhere, do anything, have different ways, like have countless different ways to solve puzzles that are dotted throughout the world. I think it looks really cool. Have you guys had a chance to check out this Immortals Fenyx Rising trailer? Did you watch any gameplay from anybody? Let us know all of that. Well, and are you excited for it? Let us know all of that in the comments below. Now, we're going to switch over to a Microsoft focus. We have talked a lot about Xbox on this show for us, with the Xbox Series X coming out and the Xbox Game Showcase and everything. And the Series X it looks really cool. And we haven't understood, the one thing we haven't known this whole time is the price point. So earlier in the week, out of kind of nowhere, it got leaked that there was potentially a Series S and it was a smaller digital only version. And then Microsoft just like, well, screw it. And they just said, we might as well make it official. Dropped it on their Twitter. Xbox Series S is coming out on the same day as Xbox Series X, and it's just a slightly less powerful digital-only version of it. And it's almost, well, it's $200 cheaper than the Series X. So the Series X, we have the official price at $499, which is kind of where I expected it to be. And the Series S is coming in at $299. That is the price that you can go and buy a Nintendo Switch for right now. And that is crazy to me, because this is truly a next-gen console. You're getting 4K, you're getting all this power, you're getting all these next-gen games and everything. This is going to be right alongside the Series X, and it's coming in at the price of a Switch. And I think that is really, really awesome. It's going to be way more affordable for people. You know, it doesn't sound like $299 and $499 are a crazy difference if you really want the thing, but $200 is a lot of money, and you know, not everybody has it within their means to just willy-nilly buy Series X. So if you really want these games and you can settle for 4K instead of 8K, which, spoiler alert, you can, because the human eye can't perceive higher than 4K, so don't waste your money on that. But the Series X has other benefits too. But overall, I think this is a great idea. It's way more accessible. There's going to be so many more people able to get this. I personally might get it even because I don't need a disc drive. I've been moving more digital throughout the last couple of years. So I might just jump in and grab this thing. And it is the smallest Xbox they have ever created.
It's crazy.
For us, I don't know if you've seen the images of this. And I know this is a Switch controller, but it is literally the size of 2 Xbox One controllers, like this. That's all the bigger it is. It looks like a Wii. It is nuts. And they had it on Phil Spencer's shelf in interviews he's been doing over the last few months. It's just so nuts.
I was going to send you that picture and see if you saw it.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Forrest, you've seen all of this. You've heard the price points. You see the design. What are your thoughts and feelings about the Xbox Series S?
I think it's a fantastic idea for people who are not fully invested, because I know there was a lot of concern with this next generation, like all the specs that are coming out. We don't have any release date. We don't have any price points. Is this thing going to be like $700-800? Because most people don't want to spend that on a new game system when the one they've had has been working so well for them. So having a digital only, smaller, a little bit less powerful version for $300 for next gen gaming, with all of these games that are going to be coming out for it, you get Halo Infinite for it eventually when that comes out. Release date has been pushed back, but that's a whole other issue. We talked about that. But still, there's so much to it, and they've revamped the Xbox Game Pass, which you know, I renewed mine, and I haven't been playing, but I've been watching Aaron play a couple games, like Grounded specifically. There's so much to that Game Pass that I'm like, I don't have time for all these games that they're letting me play. Mm-hmm. So it is a fantastic option for people, you know, on a budget. You still get this next level gaming. Personally, I think I'm going to still go for the Series X over the S, because I like the disc drive. I have a lot of Xbox One games that I still like to play. Even 360 games, and some Xbox original games are backwards compatible, which is just insane. That it's like, hey, we're going to support back probably 360 games, I would assume. We're going to support back as far as we can. You can play all the games that you love. So I may even trade in my One X, since Series X does the same thing and more. It's just, they're blowing it out of the water. Like, we didn't know anything. We had rumors and then kind of leaks, and they're just like, oh yeah, here it is. And the fact that he had it on his shelf sitting in the background and nobody picked up on it, you didn't expect that from Phil Spencer. That's like, you know, Nintendo does stuff like that. There's other people who like tease stuff in the background. You got anything back behind you, by the way, that you're teasing for the future? But so it's super cool to see. I'm invested in probably the Series X. We'll see how it comes holiday time, which I was wrong. It wasn't November 17th. or November
It's not.
7th that it was being launched. It's November 10th. Very close from what I originally thought. But still, we are now less than 2 months away from this thing being launched, both of these things being launched.
Yep.
So it's super cool to see that they are listening to people and saying, hey, we know money is important to people. We know it's tight, especially with everything going on. Here's an option for you. If you don't need a disc, if you want to just, I mean, a lot of people like you are going digital, go for it. Here you go. Here's the future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like PlayStation is now having to do what they can to
All the
try to
pressure's
catch up.
on.
Yeah, they have a
Pressure's on,
showcase.
Sony.
They have a showcase on Wednesday, which I think they're going to announce prices and they're going to announce release date. But I don't know. Depending on what they announce here, I think I don't like the whole console war, like, oh, ours is better, ours is cheaper, whatever kind of thing. But I think this may be like another nail in the coffin of like, here you go. What are you guys going to do about it?
Yeah, no, I and who knows? Maybe they've got the same kind of thing planned. They may very well.
They could,
but yeah, I mean, we already know that they have a digital only version of it.
That's
but
true.
The pricing is the question.
Yeah,
I don't know that they're going to come in at that price, and that's totally speculation. I have no idea what they're going to do, but it's going to be really interesting to see when they do announce this price, what it's going to come in at, and how that does affect people's decisions this generation.
Yep.
Overall, I think Microsoft is killing it. I couldn't believe it when I saw this. I'm very excited. What did you guys think about the Series S reveal? And are you going to purchase? What do you think you're going to pick up? Do you even care about Xbox? And if you do, are you going to go with the X? Or you feel like you can just go digital, get it slightly cheaper, and go for the S? Let us know in the comments below. Now, our final story here on gaming this week is one that I totally, completely lost my cool about earlier in the week. I believe it was Thursday, if I remember right. Sometime earlier, kind of later
scrambled.
in the week.
It's too good.
Oh, we got Nintendo did their crazy, stupid, dropping random giant news on Twitter again.
It's
and
what they're doing now.
And told us about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Now, I got on camera so fast, and I did a reaction for this as soon as I possibly could. I put it up, and I got to say, first off, thank you all so much for the support on this. We've got, I think, 20 new subscribers join the channel that found it through this video. We've gotten 1.5 thousand views, which is the most we've gotten on this channel. So thank you so much for that. But those of you who have watched that knew I lost my mind. Now, I also got to say, Forrest has been on vacation. He didn't get a chance to check this one out yet. So I'm going to kind of enlighten him a little bit. Forrest, we got an announcement for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Obviously, you know I love Hyrule Warriors. Oh, yeah. It is a Warriors game. It is mixed with Zelda. I thought it was fantastic. It was really one of my favorite games on the Wii U, and they've released it 3 times. I love that game. I also really, really love Breath of the Wild. We just talked about earlier, Breath of the Wild is my #1 favorite game of all time. So I'm doing it again. I've got the Silent Princess tattooed on my arm. Yep. I love that game. Forrest, what Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is that this is an in-canon story with Breath of the Wild 100 years before the events. So this is when the Calamity happened. This is the war that put Hyrule into chaos and put Link asleep, and all of the champions died and everything.
Yep.
That's all the story of this game. And we are going to be able to play as Link and Zelda and Urbosa and Daruk and Mipha and Revali and who knows who else. We've seen younger Impa. We've seen younger Impa in this. There's so much potential here, and I was totally blown away by the fact that, one, we were getting a new Hyrule Warriors, exciting enough, but that they are making it an in-canon prequel to Breath of the Wild where we actually get to see the war, and we get to play the war, and we start out as Link as just a knight and watch the story of how Zelda recruits him and how they recruit all of the champions to become the champions. And we know that this is going to have a tragic ending because, obviously, spoiler alert, the game is almost 4 years old if you haven't played it again. Yeah, sorry, but the champions don't live, and they lose. Hyrule loses in this game. So I think it's going to be a really, really awesome story. I'm very excited to play it. Forrest, hearing all of that, how do you feel about the news of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
That's fascinating. Just the fact that they're doing a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and they're working on a sequel to it, which hasn't been done in Zelda history. A sequel to it. I mean, I guess you could say Ocarina and Majora's Mask a little bit, but still, it hasn't been like number two. So I feel like they're going all in on this story because it is a good story. Mm-hmm. Like in the other games, like Hyrule's losing, but you can still save it. This one, it's like Hyrule's screwed. We're gonna lose this, and you're gonna, that in the future you're gonna have to try to fix this, but you're still fighting against all odds to do what you can here. Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. I played the Hyrule Warrior game with you a couple times. They are very, very fun games to play through. I couldn't get into the story because we were going through things so quickly. But the fact that we get all the characters from Breath of the Wild as they were at their peak is incredible. Like I want to play Rivali. I love that dude. He's just super cool. So I don't know. This is a game that should be on everybody's radar. If you love Zelda, if you love the Switch, if you love any Warriors game, this gives all of that. It's all wrapped into one. And just hearing about that, I need to go back and watch a reaction video. I've been gone for too long, and this is this sounds so cool, and I'm all in for this.
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating because I would have never expected a spin-off game to be in canon. I wouldn't have anticipated Nintendo doing something like that, especially with a major IP like Zelda. And you're right. Zelda has always been, it's all connected. They've got this weird, confusing timeline that you can all know in this Hyrule Historia book right here.
There's the secret background.
Yep. There you go. It was all planned. No, it's all connected and everything, but the closest we've gotten to really like a direct sequel, as far as I'm remembering anyway, is Ocarina of Majora's Mask. But the story didn't carry over. This is a Zelda game that we are getting a story of, and then we're getting a direct sequel to what just happened after the game we played, and we're getting a prequel story. So they have made essentially a Breath of the Wild trilogy. It's not even just like a story to a story. This is a trilogy. And I've seen people kind of having mixed feelings about it, and I understand. Some people just don't like that kind of game. They don't like Warriors style action beat 'em up 1 versus 100 type of battles, but they want the story, right? So they're going to be forced to play this kind of game that they don't like to play the story. So I understand the kind of frustration about it, but the way Aonuma explained it, because he came up with the idea, and he's like, I want to tell this story about the war that happened, the battle that happened. And he thought the best way to do that was to do it in, like, who makes the best war game? Head over to Koei Tecmo, and he pitched the idea to them and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And so you're going to make it feel like an unwinnable battle, basically. And that is really, really cool to me, fighting against all odds. I am so unbelievably excited about this. Forrest, and I want to say one more thing. And I mentioned this, but we saw a younger Impa in this trailer. At least we think it's a younger Impa, which is really, really cool, because I'm assuming that we're going to get more of her story, how she was involved. Because when we see her in Breath of the Wild, she's well over 100 years old. She's just sitting on a little stool. So if we get to play as her, I think that's going to be really cool. We might get other characters and things like that we don't even know yet. I can't even believe that this happened. I'm so excited. Forrest, do you have any other final thoughts you want to get out there about Hyrule Warriors?
Impa's a cool character. I know you love Urbosa through and through, yes, so I think you're going to be playing her nonstop.
Oh man. I got literally the image of my thumbnail is when Urbosa got revealed. If that tells you anything.
Heck yes. So final thought here is that Even though you're fighting a losing battle, it reminds me of Halo Reach, where the last
Mm-hmm.
mission in there is you've passed on Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn, and you're like, get her out of here. And the last thing you see is current objective, survive. And
Yeah.
it's a losing battle, and you're sticking out as long as you can. That it's still it's one of the most emotional things you can go through in gaming, is that you're
Yeah.
connected to these characters, and you're fighting for what you believe is right. And even though you're going to lose this, you're still hoping for all odds that something will happen. So it'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see what story they tell, especially that it's in canon, what they're going to do with it, even though the fates. It goes back to we talked in the movie section about Star Wars. The fate of characters, but you're still hoping beyond all hope that maybe something will save them. But so
Yeah.
great choice to do a little prequel Warriors game out of nowhere that this happened, but this is super cool.
Yeah, and the best part is it comes out on November 20th. So it's like right around the corner. 10 days after the Series S, damn it. But I can't wait. It's coming right around the corner. We're going to get this thing. I'm so excited about it. Forrest, well, let's start here. I'm getting ahead of myself. What did you guys all think about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? Are you as excited about it as I am? Let us know in the comments below. Forrest, thank you so much for being here. We had a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week, and I appreciated your input.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and I love talking about video games and just nerding out for a little bit. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up by hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to be the first to know when we upload a video. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Press to Play OK. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye.